Remaining pastoral, he identified with and showed empathy to faithful communicants who suffered Anfechtungen with him, but his hopes now focused on the end of life and the end of the world. Believers who lived by faith should pray after the manner of a phrase he used when writing to his wife. Come, dear last day. He told Christ's people that they were already past judgment in many ways. If our hearts could grasp the fact that we need not fear the final judgment, what joy they would find. While Luther's heart had grown cold about the local scene, he could well have taken compensatory comfort and seen signs to cheer him in the spread of the evangelical cause beyond Saxony and into many parts of northern and east-central Europe. He at least ambiguously affirmed some partisans of the cause beyond Saxony and Thuringia, even if they were not in complete agreement with him. He sometimes worked to build coalitions and mend fences among evangelicals, and he could sound sympathetic on occasion. After the theologian Zwingli was killed in battle in 1531, Luther, who still often spoke of the theology of his Swiss counterpart with disdain, and at one time was not sure Zwingli would be in heaven, expressed regret about his death, fearing, he said, that now the Swiss would not be saved. At the same time, the widening of evangelical influence brought ambiguities and problems. The most telling concerns came from some in the company of Luther. One of the most revealing and plaguing issues concerned John Agricola, a kind of protege, who read how Luther ruled out the divine law as an agent in salvation, and then carried the idea over to the moral life. To the shock of many, including Luther, this innovator taught that Christians should not preach God's law at all to believers. Having been made just, they were simply beyond its reach. After it became clear that Luther was unable to silence or convince Agricola, the two engaged in open conflict beginning in 1538. Luther eventually broke off relations, seemingly proud of his ability to sow discord when it resulted from standing up for his truth. Agricola, it turns out, had exposed a difficult issue in Luther's witness when he asked why people who were made just by faith should do good, be good, or obey the works of the law. Luther did have answers to such questions, but his reliance on the theme of grace and of faith, made active in love, was not easy to articulate, whereas Agricola's simple dismissal of the divine law was popular among a following over whose growth Luther agonized. He continued to receive friendly overtures from notable theologians such as Martin Bucer, whose influence was strong in and around Strasbourg. For years Bucer had shuttled between the Wittenberg school and the Swiss who gathered around Zwingli, but he had difficulty persuading Luther to have full confidence in him and his theology. After 6 years during which he made strenuous efforts to produce a document of concord, Bucer and his colleagues came in May 1536 to meet with Luther at Eisenach, and then at his home in Wittenberg. At first Luther was gruff and kept some distance, wary as he was of their views of the Lord's Supper. They sounded somewhat Zwinglian to him, though they were not. Eventually he met with Bucer, and they had it out over details of a conciliatory document that Melanchthon prepared for them. The Lord's Supper was again at issue. After Luther questioned the sincerity of the visitors, a tearful Bucer was ready to make concessions, and did so. But Luther in the end only grudgingly signed the Wittenberg Concord which they drafted. Bucer and his companions by now had grown sufficiently close to Luther that the followers of Zwingli felt snubbed and marginal. Luther did maintain cool relations with the Zwinglians, now led by Heinrich Bullinger, but clearly the two movements were going their separate ways. Luther and his friends had numerous dealings with rulers and theologians in the north, meaning Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and even indirectly Iceland. Frederick of Holstein in Denmark, who opened the way for the evangelical preachers in 1527, established their version of Christianity 2 years later. When Christian III took the throne in 1533, he deposed the 7 bishops and named their successors, who were not clerics, superintendents. John Bugenhagen, who crowned Christian in 1537, followed up with a church ordinance that Luther endorsed also for Norway and Iceland. Christian exported students, herring, and money to the Wittenberg leaders, who mentored the Danes in this time of church change. Few of these shifts in ecclesiastical contexts represented radical theological adjustments on the part of the bishops, pastors, and people. Some resulted from turmoil among rulers, and others occurred in response to the witness of a few important scholars who commuted to Wittenberg.